In this video, we're going to show you how to install the neutral safety switch on your Hummer H3 located on the driver's side of the transmission. Here we have our new neutral safety switch. This is the top of it. And the position here is pretty much key. You want to pay attention to this here. Right on the very top, there's a little nub here that has a notch in it. Down here, this is the component that's going to be moving with the selector. There's going to be two little tabs here. I'm going to mark them with the Sharpie marker, and there's two right here. Now this represents the actual neutral position of the unit. Now I'm going to take a tape measure here, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that these two notches line up with this here. I'm going to use the back side of my tape measure. You can use a straight edge if you want. Line it up and make sure that those two notches line up with that tab there, and it does. Now for any reason, if this is not lined up, this needs to be adjusted and locked into place. And on the vehicle itself, before we install this here, the vehicle needs to be in neutral before we start removing the old part. So step one, put that vehicle in neutral. On our connector side here, there's going to be a blue lock tab. You want to use a pair of needle nose pliers. You're going to grab that tab and we're going to wiggle it and move it back towards the rear of the vehicle. That's a little safety tab there. Now right where we pull this out, there's this little tab right here. And there's a hole in the front and there's a hole in the back side. Now you can see I'm holding a thin flathead screwdriver. And I'm going to go in here and gently work that tab out. I'm trying to disconnect the connector from there. And I believe this needs to come down a little bit more. Here we go. There it is. Now as you pull it down, it's going to disengage the harness from the neutral safety switch. And there it is. Go ahead and set that bulkhead connector to the side there. Now on the linkage arm here, I want to go ahead and remove our 15mm nut. Sometimes this is a little rusty, so we're going to go ahead and apply some rust penetrant to this. We're going to let that soak and we'll come back to it in a little bit. You can go ahead and use a pair of locking pliers here, and you want to grab the lower end here. Be careful not to pop this plastic off. You want to go ahead and grab that metal itself. And I'm just going to use my locking pliers to pop on there and hold that linkage arm. Go ahead and get your ratchet on there. There we go. Now I'm going to work this nut back and forth here. I don't want to damage that. But while that's working that, I'm going to continue to spray it with some rust penetrant. And the nut is basically just cleaning the junk off there. And with the locking pliers, I'm just keeping that linkage arm there in the neutral position. There you go. We're going to be reusing that nut, so you want to hold on to that. We now want to go ahead and remove the linkage arm from the shaft here. So once again, rust penetrant. And I'm going to try doing a little bit of prying pressure on this here to try and work this off. Go ahead and slide that off and just drop that down. Now while I'm there, I'm going to go ahead and clean the shaft here with a little bristle brush. And this is a two-part purpose here. Obviously we have to pull our neutral safety switch off of the shaft. So there's probably some rust buildup on that. It's going to probably cause a little bit of a problem there. But also when we go to slip on the new one, I want to make sure that this is clean so it slips onto the new one nice and easy. After using our bristle brush for a little bit, we do have quite a bit of a rust ridge on this here. So I'm going to use some 240 sandpaper on a strip. I'm going to gently work it on that shaft there and on the sides. You don't specifically have to use a 240 grit sandpaper. You could use something else. Gonna give that a quick spray with some spray solvent, clean off some of that little rusty sanding debris. Okay, so the next step here is what we're going to do is I'm going to show you this on the new part. You notice there's a slotted hole here, which is where one of the bolts is going to go. And then on the forward side, this is slotted as well. We want to try and get this as close as possible to what the factory setting is. You might need some final adjustments later on. However, we're going to try and get this as pretty close right from the get-go. Now we did go ahead and clean this with our spray solvent. If yours is pretty clean, then you should be good to go. But we cleaned it and used our bristle brush on it. And what I'm gonna do is where the bottom edge is here, I'm gonna go ahead and mark with my black Sharpie right where this lower edge is on that. You can also do on the back side here, get a general idea. The other thing you can do is maybe get a measurement from where this is here to where your pan is, the bottom edge of the pan. From the bottom edge there to the edge of the pan. What you want to do is basically get a front and rear measurement. So when we put this back on, we can get the same preliminary setting. So when we pop on the new one, we'll snug it, install everything, and then go ahead and test it. Now the way I'm going to choose to do this here is I'm going to measure right from the base of the bracket to the bottom edge of my pan, the lip right here. That's how I'm going to do it. You can choose another way on how you want to do it. But it's pretty much center of that slotted hole there. And I am at roughly 7/8. I'm just gonna use a Sharpie marker and I'm gonna put 7/8 right on that pan. As for the front, we just have that standard mark where the base of that is going to go. Let's go ahead and unbolt our component. We're gonna use our 13mm socket. Probably get to a point where we can spin that out by hand. And do the same for the front. Next step is we need to try and work this off of the shaft here. And there's a good possibility if you're in the salt belt like we are, that component is kind of stuck on there. There we go. And that, my friends, is a success story right there. I'm going to continue to clean up this shaft here, sand it gently, and clean that up and make it easier for our new part to go onto. Go ahead and clean it up with some spray solvent. Take your new component, line that up on that shaft. And there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and line up our bolts, get those started. Okay. I'm not going to tighten these here. I'm just running the bolts down. Okay. We still have adjustability there, which is perfect. And a tape measure, I want to measure right from the center of this, and I want 7/8. Now I'm doing an eyeball here. Once again, when we removed the original one, our plan was to get this lower edge right here to line up with this mark here, and then our 7/8 on the back there, and it did shift on the back end just a little bit. So because this is on the shaft here, once I get my 7/8 here, this front should line up perfect because it's on a pivot. You can't go up and down on both sides. So this is just like a double confirmation of where I need to be. We're at 7/8, and that's lining up. I'm calling that perfect with that. Once again, it's a preliminary setting. So you might have to adjust this a little bit in the end. All right, that is snug. Once it bottoms out, just give it a little bit. It doesn't have to be super, super tight, but it does have to be secured. There we go. One final measurement. Beautiful. You could take your link arm here. Now, now's probably a good time if you want to go ahead and spray some spray lube into this pivot here. All right, then we can go ahead and line this up on our arm. And just like that, it popped on, no problem. Go ahead and take that nut. I'm going to give this one spray. And another good telltale sign that you're lined up is that on our particular vehicle, this linkage arm here is literally 12/6. It's straight up and down, showing us that it's still in the neutral position. Now let's go ahead and do our torque specifications. We want to go ahead and tighten down our linkage arm here to 15 foot-pounds. Now you may or may not have to use your locking pliers here. However, it is going to make it easier. There we go. Now these are snug. Our final torque spec is going to be 20 foot-pounds on these bolts. We want to go ahead and torque these down for now. We want to install our connector, and then you want to hop into the vehicle. You want to put the vehicle in park, start the vehicle, shut it off. You want to go ahead and put the vehicle into neutral. You want to go ahead and check everything, start up the vehicle, and make sure that all of your selectors and the lights on the dash are where they need to be for your park, neutral, reverse, and all that. Now, for some reason, if it's not, you're going to come down here, you're going to disconnect this, loosen these, and twist it one way or the other to go ahead and get it dialed in. That's why these are slotted for final adjustment. We're now going to torque down the bolts on our safety switch, and those are to 20. There it is. Now we'll go ahead and take our bulkhead connector. We're going to line that up. Push it on. And as we push it on, it's going to stop at a certain point. Now you're going to push in on the lower lock tab, and that will pretty much suck this on the rest of the way. And it locks it in. Give it a little wiggle. Don't forget your blue locking button here. You're going to put that in. Okay. Our installation here is complete.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.